Larry and Maya Millete were high school sweethearts. When they were just 18 years old, they married in 1999 and began raising a family. Together, they had 3 children and were living in a beautiful home in Chula Vista, California. But after more than 20 years together, they began to have marital trouble. Maya was not happy and was getting ready to leave Larry. But before she could file any paperwork, Maya disappeared on January 7th, 2021. She left no note and no clues. This raised a lot of suspicion. Why would a mother of 3 young children just leave? Maya's husband became the focus of investigators who uncovered evidence that allegedly shows Larry hired spellcasters to cast spells on Maya to hurt her so she wouldn't leave him. Then finally, after 21 months, Larry was charged with Maya's murder, even though her body has never been found. Tonight, the latest in the case against Larry Millete and the search for Maya will take a look at the prosecution's case and the evidence they believe proves that Larry is a wife killer. Then we'll take a listen to Larry's version of what happened to see if it makes any sense as we continue our investigation into the disappearance of Maya Millete. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us on this Monday. You really have to begin this story by understanding a very significant fact here. Maya Millete, also known as May, was a loving mother of 3, period. Now, this is significant on many different levels. One, of course, you've got 3 children now without their mom. That is above and beyond any type of tragedy here. It's horrific. You know, children growing up without the person that loves them the most. Children growing up without the most important person in their lives, their mom. I'm a dad, and I know that the most important person in their lives is their mom. I know that. But it's also significant here because in this case, Maya has been missing for 3 years. So Larry Millete, the accused murderer, and his attorneys, his defense team, whoever, could allege and could say that she just, you know, unhappy in her marriage and just left, just walked away. Well, yeah, she could walk away from Larry, but she was never, ever going to walk away from those 3 children. I mean, that significant fact there proves to me, that this is not someone who voluntarily walked away from anything. This is someone who is missing because something happened to them. Very obvious to me. Now, another significant fact in all of this, right? So she's missing. And despite the fact that, yeah, we've uncovered that there were marital problems here and the breakup was imminent, which probably leans towards the alleged motive here more than anything else, but this other fact is very significant. Larry never joined the searches. Strangers from the community were coming out to help Maya's family look for her. People that never met her. Yet the man who spent all these years with her, was raising children with her, didn't look? Why would you not look? Again, common sense tells you a lot of things here. Common sense tells you she wouldn't voluntarily leave. Common sense tells you if Larry thought that, you know, she went hiking and something, he would have been out there looking the whole time. He wouldn't have given up. Never ever would have given up, but he never lifted a finger. Speaks volumes. Speaks volumes. These circumstances so important in this case because prosecutors will have to rely upon circumstances because there's no eyewitness to what happened. They haven't found Maya yet. So they're going to have to put all these circumstances together in a circumstantial case, which can be very compelling. Many times on this show, I've explained to you how circumstantial evidence is oftentimes more reliable than direct evidence. So that's the type of case it is. Now, where are we in all this? Well, we're waiting for the trial to start, but Larry apparently no money and has a new lawyer. Ran out of money, his lawyer needed more, and she, I guess, left the case, and now he's got new counsel in, and it looks like we're moving towards an August trial date, but we'll see. He was back in court today, not a lot happened. He was trying to get access to to a phone, wants to call the kids. Probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea at this point. Anyhow, so there's a lot to talk about here. But before we get there, the date, it's been 3 years and 2 days, or 3 years and 1 day since she went missing. And prosecutors will argue since she was murdered. Perla Shaheen from Scripps News San Diego has more on that for us tonight.
Maya Millete's family and friends prayed with a purpose.
The endurance to continue going, God.
Asking God to find Maya and bring her home to her 3 children.
If we come together in prayer, then God's going to pour his spirit and strengthen and encourage the family.
I lift up their sad days, God. I lift up their great days, God.
Their prayers rang out as the sun set over Mount San Miguel Park. Family friend Norma Toothman says the time and place are symbolic.
501, well, Maya's birthday was May 1st, so it's very important for us to kickstart the prayer at 501.
As for this park, it's right next to Maya's home. It's also the first place the community searched for Maya after she went missing exactly 3 years ago.
It's more meaningful to the family and also to the community that we gather at the same place where it all began.
The community is still searching. In the same year Maya went missing, her husband Larry Millete was arrested by Chula Vista police and charged with her first-degree murder. Larry Millete pleaded not guilty and remains in custody since he is ineligible for bail. He's due back in court on Monday, where the judge will check on the status of his case. Larry Millete's trial is scheduled for August 26th.
Larry did a lot to postpone this, and I think it's time for it to stop. I think let's just get it going.
Melissa Noland has been part of the search efforts since the beginning. Like many other volunteers, she doesn't know the family, but just wants to help.
I mean, everybody that's here is here because they have something good within them.
In your name, we pray. Amen.
So now it's been 3 years. Let's bring in our special guest joining me tonight, Maya's sister and brother-in-law, Mary, Chris, and Richard Drulier. Great to see you both tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you believe it's 3 years?
No, I know. It's like since 3 years ago, I didn't even thought we'll be in this place, but it's been 3 years, Vinnie. It's been 3 years of nightmare for us.
At this point, 3 years down the road from when all this first happened, as you look back in that time in Maya's life, what was going on? What was going on with Maya, and what was her, you know, her demeanor, her feelings, her emotions 3 years ago?
You know, the last time we were with her was the New Year time, and she was actually, you know, telling us, just opening up, because about the divorce and about separating with Larry at that time, and she was ready to move on with her life, but with her life with her kids, but you know, she was happy and sad, but you know, sad that, you know, they're going to be separated, but you know, happy, I think, for a new beginning for her. But just didn't imagine she ended up this way, being missing and not knowing where she is.
So many amazing pictures that we're looking at and we see. Can you describe for us her relationship with her children, and can you recall when it was time for her to have her first child, what her reaction was to that big time in her life?
She was very excited. They were actually married for quite some time. She waited almost 10 years, I think, before she had her first child. They were married when she was young, 19 years old, and she wanted to have a career first. She wanted to have a life first, and she wanted to be stable first before having a baby. She wanted to be ready for a child, and she wanted to raise her children the best that she can, and that they are that she is ready to have children and to raise them. So she was very excited about it. Finally, after 10 years of being married, they're gonna have finally a baby girl. So she was very happy about that.
And different families do different things, and the closeness of families often, sometimes it depends upon geography and other things that can keep families apart. How often did you and your sister and your other siblings get together, and was that something that she wanted to continue with her family and her children?
Oh yes. So we are very tight family. We have a really close relationship. I guess there's 6 of us. So growing up, we don't really have anything. And then when we moved to America, we were more close, and we felt we were blessed being here, and we wanted to spend time together. So almost every other weekend or every month, we made sure we're together, celebrating birthdays. We have so many 15 nieces and nephews, so we have birthday parties every month, and of course, like different holidays, we spend time together, vacations. So we're almost like we all were, siblings, but we're more like friends that get together. So we do our really close family.
So Richard, this is something that I think a lot of us do. Our wives, our sister-in-laws, and women that are in our life that are family, and then they start dating someone or they're married to someone, and I think sometimes we kind of evaluate them, make sure that they're good enough, that they're good enough for our sister, our sister-in-law, our daughter, our niece, whoever it is, right? Did you ever have any sense that there was something wrong with Larry? Did any of your little senses go up at any point? I don't know about this guy.
Well, I was the last brother-in-law to come into the family. Actually, we were the last ones to be married. Her sister Jane and Maya were married when I met my wife Chris. So they had that against me.
So they were, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but when I had nothing against Larry. I had nothing against nobody. I was the new guy in the family, so I never really hung out with Larry outside of the family's get together. I was more close to her youngest brother, JR. But I didn't have anything against Larry. I just thought he was a great guy. I thought he was a smart guy when I first met him. I thought he was college educated, and he had a great wife and a great support team. He was all about family, so that's what I thought. That was his way of introducing himself to people. That he was just always about family. So I had no red flags on him at all.
Mary Chris, how about you? Anyone else in the family ever maybe you don't want to say it to Maya necessarily, but sort of, hey, did you see him do this or do that? Was there any sort of indication that he could potentially be capable of something this evil?
No, No, there's nothing really. I mean, he's been, again, it's almost like we grew up together, like it's in almost 20 years together. So he's been regarded as a family. If they do have anything, marital issues, they usually just resolve it among themselves. So it doesn't, there's no, as my husband said, there's no red flag at all. He's regarded as like a family. There's anything against him. So this is all, this is all a shock to us. Whatever if he had done it to my sister, everything is a shocking to us. It's all news to us. We don't know that Larry.
Inside the courtroom, I think he's been wearing a mask almost the whole time, right? Sort of started back when everyone was wearing masks. Have you been in court with him? Have you made any eye contact with him? Has he ever acknowledged family members or looked around, or is he just kind of in his own little world and focused with his defense team when you're in there?
A few times that he did acknowledge the audience, I guess you could say, was when he had family there. I know he had his Uncle Rick, and I think his dad showed up a few times in the very beginning, when this all started, the court hearing started. But for him to acknowledge, Maya's family, myself, it's zero attention to it. He just turns his back, and I've tried to get his attention, but he won't even, he'll just look at the judge and sit there and at attention and just have his eyes focused in the front of the court.
Did anything change over the course of 20 years in terms of their relationship? And obviously things did change because they were having problems and Maya wanted to leave and was going to file for divorce, etc. But did his personality change? Did he become more withdrawn from the world and kind of just focused on, I have to have May. I need Maya no matter what, and cut off the rest of the world. Did anything like that seemingly happen, or did you notice?
Just the last year, the 2020, year 2020, it was the big thing that was actually changed was that he was calling the entire family, opening up to us with their marital issues. So that was a big change. He never called us. I mean, not to the point where he's sharing marital issues to the family. So the whole year that was going on, and we tried to help them out. So I think that was just a big change. And during that year, 2020, we could actually tell they're having fights or issues when they come over for the parties. Sometimes he would be very quiet. He would just stay in the car, or he would ask Maya to talk to him in private if they're having some issues and stuff like that. And sometimes he's just been quiet in the corner too. But yeah, I mean, just the 2020 has just been there was a change. Yeah, he was distant, and there was there was a change, but we didn't thought it would be that bad.
No one could imagine. You would never imagine this. You would never, unless it was a situation where there was ongoing physical abuse. Then you'd be like, okay, well, there's something happening here. Before we run out of time, your reaction when you learned that he had allegedly was going to spellcasters and trying to cast these spells on Maya.
Yeah. That was a shock to both of us. I mean, to the whole family, pretty much. We couldn't believe that he went to that extent to try to save his marriage or to change Maya's decision about the divorce. I think that just crossed the line. And it's probably one of the biggest evidence that we have that he did something to Maya, that he's responsible for her disappearance. I think at that point he just lost his mind. And he was at a desperate point, a dark place in his life that.
Dark, desperate place. I think that's a great way to describe it. So let's do something the opposite of that. Let's bring a little sunshine here. I just want to play, and before we go, Maya playing guitar and singing. That's how we're going to end the segment. I want to see if we can just take that to the break. So I want to say goodbye to both of you for tonight. Thank you. Great to see you. And obviously we're going to continue to follow the story, and hopefully some sense of justice begins in August in all this, and the search continues. I need to remind everyone that the search is continuing. So as we leave you two and continue the show tonight, let's take a look at some sunshine tonight from Maya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. God bless.
You.
Maybe I came on too strong. Maybe I waited too long. Or maybe I played my cards wrong. Oh, just a little bit wrong. Maybe I apologize for it.
Connecticut mother goes missing. Now, her estranged husband's girlfriend
stands trial for her alleged role in the disappearance.
The Missing Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage begins this week only on Court TV.
There is no evidence that she left the house after the video surveillance shows her walking into the house on January 7th, 2021, just before 5 o'clock p.m. And we have evidence that her cell phone terminated all connection to the network at 1:25 in the morning on January 8th, 2021, and it was consistent with being at the residence 2413 Paseo Los Gatos. The only person who had a motive, who spoke of the desire to hurt her, is the defendant.
Maya Millete has never been found. Larry may say that she just left on her own accord, right? Just ran away, you know? Ridiculous, but probably what he'll say. So we're going through some of the evidence right now that prosecutors have in this case. And as you heard from the prosecutor in the case, video evidence will be very significant in this case. Take a look. We've got security footage from January 7th. This is between 2:52 and 3:13 p.m. And you can see that Maya is alive and well. That's her Jeep. She's kind of loading it up. The kids are there as well. She's going back and forth. Proof of life. Proof of life on January 7th. But then you go to January 8th, and there's no footage of her coming out. But we go to the 8th now at 5:59 a.m. You've got Larry's Lexus repositions in the driveway, which is interesting, right? Repositioning, backing into the garage. So perhaps prosecutors will argue you may have taken Maya's remains and placed him into the Lexus as he repositions at 5:59 a.m. Then we've got security footage from later that day, about 12 hours later. 6:06 p.m. Larry, well, first he leaves at 6:43 a.m. and then doesn't return until 6:06 p.m. So you've got him leaving for 12 hours to go do whatever he's going to do. One of his children, the youngest, is with him, but two others who were also young are left home alone for 12 hours. Let's bring in our guests. Joining me tonight in Michigan City, Indiana, private investigator, founder of Victims News Online, Erica Morse is with us. In Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King. Great to see everyone. I'm looking at this video, Erica, and there's no video of her once she goes back into that house just before 5 of her ever leaving the house again.
No, Vinnie. I mean, no. There just isn't. We've talked about this, I don't know how many times on this program. Maya Millete was a woman who was trying to leave a controlling, abusive situation. And as suspected and as anticipated, her husband is now on trial for her murder. What we need to do now is find Maya's body. And that has to happen as soon as possible. So, my focus for this case for the last couple of years has been, let's just find Maya. They need all the evidence they can get, and Mary Chris and Richard need this closure.
Absolutely. Let's take a listen, Bobby Chacon, to Detective Vincente, who was testifying about some of the other evidence that exists in this case.
In reference to the reports of children's voices being heard in the backyard or thereabouts in the Millete residence, did you find any evidence that has any significance in your investigation?
Yes, it does, because of the timeline of when Larry told me that they argued between 8 and 10, and then there's sounds of children playing in the backyard. I believe that there was some sort of fight, and he had sent the kids out so they can continue their argument.
In the process of investigating the disappearance of Miss Millete, did you receive some reports of gunshots or sounds like gunshots on or about January 7, 2021?
There was audio provided by a neighbor of loud bangs, which we collected and forwarded it to the FBI to have it further analyzed to see if those were in fact gunshots. Those sounds were analyzed, and our experts could not definitively say that they were the sounds of gunshots.
Bobby Chacon, a lot of people wondering, we can't tell what a gunshot sounds like? Is it that difficult? And if a gunshot was what killed Maya in this case, what sort of evidence would you expect to find inside the home?
Well, no, it's not that we can't say what a gunshot sounds like. Of course we can. What he said was they couldn't testify definitively that the sounds on this video were actually gunshots. And it's probably because it's coming from a neighbor's security camera that's a distance away. There are other environmental factors between the camera's microphone. Sometimes those camera microphones aren't great. The cameras are good, but the microphones aren't great. So they could say that the sound is consistent with a gunshot, but they can't say it's definitively a gunshot. And I think that's what the testimony was, that they couldn't definitively say it was a gunshot, but it also could be sounds consistent with a gunshot, but just not 100%. But the timeline works because the time of those shots, the time that Larry says they argued, the time that the kids suddenly, strangely, I think it was after 10 p.m., that the kids are heard in the backyard, which the neighbors say is not the norm. Why are the kids out of the house by themselves in the backyard? The timeline works that if he, in fact, killed her in the house, that would be the time that he's packaging her up so that he can move her out of the house. So the timeline, all of these things fit into the timeline that the prosecution is probably going to put forth at trial.
All right, Mike King, I've got for you, this is the part of the case that just it shocks me. Let's take a listen to Investigator James Rhodes talking about the spellcasters.
There was email communication on Mr. Milliete's phone to individuals whom he identified and identified themselves as spellcasters. Is there a spell you can cast to incapacitate or make May not want to keep leaving me and my kids behind? Can you make her sick so she has to depend on us for care? I'm just at my wit's end trying to appease her. Good afternoon, Lois. You know my situation and the target, Maya Millete, born 1 May 1981. Please humble her down. She has become really selfish and narcissistic. Make her really sick and keep her sick until she realizes that it is us, her family, and myself are the only ones that will be by bedside on her deathbed, not her fake friends, friends on Facebook and other social media that she eyes more important than us. Please banish everyone else from her life with the exception of us four. Thank you, Lilith. Again, please keep the curse on her until she gives us more importance, and not until she realizes that we are the only ones that are important. Her life, love us unconditionally, and keep her home instead of constantly leaving us behind. This is from Mr. Millete to Pagan 54 on December 31st, 2020 at 6:16 p.m. Hi, just FYI, we're in the desert, dirt biking, and off reading for 4 days. Can you hex to have her hurt enough that she will have to depend on me and need my help? She's only nice to me when she needs me or sick. Thanks again. Maybe an accident or a broken bone.
All right, Mike, what do you think of all that?
Well, I think it's a whole bunch of voodoo going on that makes no sense at all. But what really does make sense to me, Vinny, is with this being a circumstantial case, the power of the behavior being exhibited is really going to come into play. And I love laying this groundwork. We know that those spell casting requests ended when Maya disappeared. So that's interesting. These are going to be really important pieces of circumstantial evidence when we look at the fact that Larry's leaving work a day before this fight on the 7th, and then he's left work on the 7th and he misses work on the 8th, which is completely uncharacteristic. Those are behavioral things. When we look at the fact that Maya's saying, hey, I want a divorce on that date of the 6th, all of a sudden all these pieces start to come together and they really start to pile on top of each other. We would love to have a body, but these are the kinds of things that make a circumstantial case really strong, because it's got to be multiple forms of evidence to bring this case together.
All right, everyone's staying with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Larry's story, because he told a story, a very specific story. That's next.
I've worked hard all my life. I've gone from being a local reporter to becoming a law student to then even going on to teach other lawyers, all before I came to Court TV. As a journalist, lawyer, and teacher, I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show, Opening Statements, every morning on Court TV.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Did you have an opportunity at some point in the investigation to speak with Jamie Laird?
I did. I spoke with Jamie Laird on May 19th of 2021.
Did he confirm for you that he had a romantic relationship with Maya Millete?
He confirmed it, yes.
Can you describe at all kind of the nature of their relationship?
It was, based on the messaging, it was sexual. It was also very emotional. They would talk about a lot of different topics than just the obvious. It got to the point where May had talked to Jamie about very personal issues, and Jamie was also receptive and responded with his own personal issues. So it was also by looking at it, both of them were finding a safe haven to talk to each other that nobody else would see.
So Maya Millete was having an affair with a man named Jamie, and that evidence came out during the preliminary hearing. Again, gets back to the motive of why would Larry allegedly do this to Maya? You know, she's leaving him. She's done. She's moving on from this relationship of 20 years. She is moving on. Larry doesn't want her to. So when Maya first went missing, Larry gave an interview to KGTV, our great affiliate in San Diego. Take a listen to what he said.
When did you first notice that May was missing?
Saturday morning.
Okay. And tell me...
Her parents came by.
Mm-hmm. Just tell me, kind of walk me through like the last time you saw her and what was going on.
Thursday night, you know, like we got into a kind of an argument. And, you know, we've been having, you know, like problems, you know, for about a year. We kind of like been up and down and stuff like that. But after that, you know, I give her space.
So just tell me, so you got into an argument and then the last time you saw her was actually in the house?
Yes,
Okay.
Thursday.
So she didn't take a vehicle.
No.
No one saw her leave.
No, but on Friday, I could still hear her, but I didn't physically see her when I got home. But that's like normal too, because we have lots of bedrooms, it's a two-story house, and we kind of like, well, I give her space. So, but that's why every time someone says Thursday, yes, it's physically, or visually see her, but for me, it's Friday night. I can hear her like rustling around, making dinner for herself in another bedroom. I'm sleeping with the kids in another bedroom.
Okay.
So upstairs and she's downstairs, kind of deal, kind of like a roommate thing. It's kind of like giving each other space. Well, sure. I don't need the space. She always wants the space.
Got it. So it was like Friday, and then you left or went somewhere, and then came back, and she wasn't there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I left her with my two girls because they do their homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just had my son with me. So when I came back, she was still there on Friday. We can hear her downstairs, like after I'm done giving the kids baths and feeding them and everything. And on Saturday morning, when her parents came by, her door was locked. I found the keys to the bedroom, and I opened it, and she was already gone. So maybe she went to a morning sunrise hike.
Every time I hear his voice, I hear Scott Peterson. I just do. I'm sorry, but I do. It's same sort of the way they speak. But Erica, what did you think of the fact that, it's a nice house. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice house, but this is not a sprawling mansion like, oh yeah, I heard her, but I didn't see her in the house.
So listen, we're supposed to believe that between Thursday night and Saturday morning, these two didn't cross paths, have a single conversation about two tender-age children. Neither one of them had a discussion about changing a diaper, who was going to feed the kids, who was going to lock the door at night, set the alarm. There are typical daily communications that transpire between spouses, whether they're getting along or not. And to be able to expect us to believe that she was not seen by him but was present in the house from Thursday night to Saturday is what we call a load of bunk.
Bobby Chacon, another fact that's really stuck in my side in all this is that the entire community was coming out and they were looking everywhere that they could, all the hiking trails and all these different potential places. Yet Larry never joined the searches. Never crossed his mind that maybe I should go look for her.
Yeah, never put a spell on to have her return or something like that, right? So
That is, wait a minute, Bobby, that is gold. That is gold. Say that again so hopefully prosecutors hear you and use it in their case.
If he was such a believer in these spells, wouldn't he have reached out for one of these many people that he was trying to cast spells? Hey, can you cast a spell to have her come back to the house for the kids? If he's a concerned father and a believer in spells, that would be the first thing I would think he would do if he actually believes in these spells, right? But yeah, look, she was gone for 12 hours that day. If I were to leave my house now, I would get to their house in about 3 hours. I live out in the desert, east of there. He could have went north, south, or east. West puts him in the ocean. If he has access to a boat, then you are talking about a Scott Peterson case. But believe me, 12 hours, a circle, even if you do 6 hours out, 6 hours back, he could make it to Las Vegas, in that time. So there's plenty of places where he could have hidden her body well enough that it may be a long time, if ever, that she's found.
Mike King, do you think he has the type of personality where he may someday admit this or reveal what happened? Or do you think never, despite if he's convicted and the jury finds it, it's never going to happen?
Yeah, personally, Vinnie, I don't think he has the courage to admit if he is responsible for this. He's got his kids that he spent time either through emails or letters and those calls that he shouldn't have been making where he's telling him that he has nothing to do with this. He's got his parents that he's telling this, Maya's family that he's telling, and then the rest of the world that he's telling. That's going to be an awfully big step for him to say, hey, I was lying to y'all, I did it.
So, Erica, let's get back to the search, because the search is continuing. As Bobby described it, it's such a vast area and it's such a long amount of time. What are your thoughts about approaching this search and what may be the key to finding her here without him speaking?
Well, thank you for tossing this one to me because I actually have an answer. Mary, Chris, and I have spent some time talking on the phone over the last year about some specific search locations. And, you know, very early on, the community responded so generously with their support, you know, as they do in a lot of these local cases. And she really had a huge group of people out there searching. You know, 1 year, 2 year, now we're in 3 years. It's starting to dwindle down. And they're down to a really small amount of searchers. They're really focused on this area called the Valley. And it can only be searched at certain times of the year due to the extreme temperatures. And so it's around this time of year that you'll see more of those searches taking place. If somebody's in that valley area, there's a real suspicion on the family's part because of where they spent time as a family, where they've done some outings, the mention of the desert with the dirt biking. Mary Chris is real focused on that valley area, and anyone in that region, I'm asking hunters, bikers, hikers, you name it, keep your eyes out. If you see a piece of clothing, a piece of evidence, a purse, something that looks like it doesn't belong there, please call it in.
And Bobby, before we run out of time tonight, your thoughts about these types of searches?
Well, look, I just got off as a juror on a 5-month murder trial where the victim was killed in 2008 here in Palm Springs, and his skull wasn't found until 2018. And they had a conviction on the first case in 2013 without the body. We had the retrial. So it's you're perfectly capable of getting a conviction without the body. The search is very difficult. In that area of Southern California, you have a tremendous amount of rural area, desert type area. I mean, the searchers have work cut out for them. If there's any leads that can narrow that searched area down, that's going to be key to as Erica said, I picked up right away when he mentioned the desert and the dirt bikes. I mean, anywhere that he's more familiar with, he's going to feel more comfortable with going. I would concentrate on those areas, but it's going to be a chore to search those areas.
Did you say you were on a jury? Is that what you said?
I just finished up as a juror, yeah. A juror at a 5-month murder trial with special circumstances here in California.
Mike, we only have like 2 seconds.
All I want to say is, having spent time looking at mummies in Egypt, the desert's the perfect place to mummify a body. And if it is out there, there's going to be more physical evidence than in many other locations where that thing would decompose pretty rapidly. It's going to dry out.